The sun burned bright over the endless desert. The sand stretched far like a golden ocean, quiet and empty. The wind moved slowly, making small waves over the dunes. It was a place where few dared to travel because once someone got lost there, it was hard to come back. In this wide desert, a boy named Amir had wandered too far from his camp. He was young, barely 12, full of curiosity and dreams. His family had stopped near an oasis for rest during their journey. While everyone was busy fixing the tents and preparing food, Amir had seen a line of desert birds flying toward the dunes. He followed them, thinking he would return before sunset. But the desert had its own ways. He walked farther and farther, chasing shadows that moved fast over the sand. Soon the birds were gone and the dunes looked the same in every direction. When he turned back, he could not tell which way he came from. The wind had erased his footprints. His heart began to beat fast. The endless sand looked alive, moving and whispering with the wind. Amir tried to stay calm. He remembered his father's words. If you are ever lost, stop walking too far, stay where you are, and wait for help. But when the sun began to sink, fear filled his small heart. The shadows grew long and the air turned cold. He shouted for help, but only the sound of wind answered him. Far away from where the boy had wandered, an old cowboy named Kareem was making his slow journey across the desert. He was poor but kind, and his only companion was a small gray donkey named Rafi. Kareem made a living by carrying goods from one village to another. He knew the desert well, its dangers and its beauty. He could read the sand like others read books. That evening, as the orange light touched the dunes, Kareem saw something strange. Rafi stopped walking and pointed his ears toward a direction. Kareem followed his gaze and noticed faint marks on the sand. They looked like footprints. He stepped down, bent close, and brushed the surface gently. The marks were small. He realized they were the footprints of a child. Kareem frowned. No family would travel at this hour. He looked at the setting sun and sighed. Someone is lost, he said softly to Rafi. The donkey gave a small bray as if agreeing. Kareem decided to follow the prints before the wind covered them. He tugged at Rafi's rope, and together they began to move along the faint trail. Amir, meanwhile, was growing tired. His throat was dry and his legs hurt. He found a small patch of shadow beside a dune and sat down. He looked around and whispered to himself, "Someone will come. I just need to wait." He tried to stay brave, but every sound made him turn his head. The wind sometimes sounded like footsteps. As darkness started to spread, Kareem lit a small lantern tied to Rafi's saddle. The dim light helped him see the path better. The footprints led between tall dunes, twisting and turning. Twice he lost them, but each time Rafi sniffed the ground and found the trail again. The donkey's nose was sharp, and Kareem often trusted him more than his own eyes. At last, Kareem saw something far ahead, a small figure sitting at the base of a dune. His heart jumped. He raised the lantern higher and called out, "Hey there, little one." The boy lifted his head weakly, blinking at the light. He could hardly believe what he was seeing. A man and a donkey were coming toward him. Kareem hurried forward and knelt beside the boy. "You're safe now," he said gently. "What are you doing here all alone?" Amir tried to speak, but his lips were dry. Kareem quickly took a small water pouch and gave it to him. "Drink slowly," he said. The boy took a few sips and tears filled his eyes. "I was following the birds," he whispered. "Then I lost the way." Kareem smiled kindly. "The desert hides many paths, but do not worry, you will soon be home." He helped Amir stand up and placed him on Rafi's back. The donkey stood still and calm, as if understanding the boy's weakness. Kareem tied the lantern to the saddle and began leading them back, but finding the boy was only half the task. The desert night was cold and confusing. The stars were bright, but the dunes looked all the same. Kareem used his years of knowledge to find the right direction. He looked at the stars and remembered landmarks from his past travels. He knew there was an old water well not far from this area. If they reached it, they could rest until morning. Amir held tightly to Rafi's neck, feeling safe for the first time since he got lost. He looked at Kareem walking ahead and thought the old man looked like a hero from stories. The donkey's slow steps and the soft sound of sand made him sleepy. After walking for nearly an hour, they saw a small shape in the darkness. Kareem raised the lantern and smiled. It was the stone wall of an old well half buried by the sand. He stopped and said, "Here we rest. The night is long and morning will bring light." They sat near the well. Kareem gave the boy a piece of bread and a few dates from his bag. Amir ate quietly. The stars above looked close, shining like silver coins. The desert night was calm now. Only the sound of wind and Rafi's quiet munching broke the silence. After eating, Amir looked at Kareem and said softly, "Thank you for finding me." Kareem smiled and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You should thank Rafi. He has a good nose and a good heart." The donkey gave a small sound and Amir laughed a little for the first time that day. Kareem covered the boy with a blanket and sat beside him. He kept the lantern low, watching the stars. He thought about his own life, the long roads he had walked and the many people he had helped. He had nothing much in the world, but he felt rich tonight because he had saved a life. As the boy slept, Kareem whispered a small prayer for safety. The desert could be cruel, but it also had moments of kindness. Sometimes it took away what one loved most, but sometimes it gave back more than expected. The wind picked up again, dancing around the dunes. It covered the old footprints slowly, erasing the signs of what had happened. Yet under that endless sky, 2 lives had crossed, one young and lost, the other old and kind. And that meeting under the starlit desert would soon lead to something even greater than either of them could imagine. When morning light touched the dunes, the desert looked peaceful again. Golden rays spread across the sand and the air was still cool. Kareem woke up early, stretching his old back and brushing the dust off his clothes. Rafi the donkey yawned and shook his ears. The boy, Amir, was still sleeping beside the well, his small face calm after the long night. Kareem looked at him with gentle eyes. He felt proud that he had found the boy before the cold night became worse. He went to the well, dropped a small bucket tied with rope, and pulled up some fresh water. He washed his face and gave water to Rafi, who drank happily. Then he filled the pouch for Amir. After a few minutes, the boy opened his eyes. He blinked at the bright sun and rubbed his face. When he saw Kareem and Rafi, he smiled a little. "Good morning," he said softly. Kareem smiled back. "Good morning, young traveler. Are you feeling better?" Amir nodded. "Yes, sir. My legs still hurt a little, but I am fine." Kareem handed him the water pouch. "Drink. We will need strength for the day. We must find your family before the sun gets too high." Amir drank and looked around. The desert seemed endless again, but now he felt safe because Kareem was with him. "Do you know the way back?" he asked. Kareem looked at the sky and the shape of the dunes. "I think your people were near the oasis 2 days east from here. If I am right, we can reach them by evening if the wind stays calm." They packed what little they had. Kareem tied the blanket and food bag on Rafi's back, then helped Amir climb up again. The donkey began walking slowly, leaving a steady line of hoofprints behind. Kareem walked beside them, his long stick pressing into the sand with each step. The sun grew stronger as the morning passed. Waves of heat danced over the dunes. Kareem covered his head with a cloth and Amir tried to do the same. The boy looked down and saw the sand glittering like gold. He had never seen anything so beautiful and dangerous at the same time. To keep the boy's mind busy, Kareem began to tell stories. He spoke about his younger days when he worked at horse camps and learned to guide travelers across the desert. He told him about storms that could hide mountains and nights so cold that fire froze before it burned. Amir listened with wide eyes, forgetting his fear. He liked the way Kareem spoke, calm and full of wisdom. Around noon, they stopped under a large dune where a little shade could protect them from the burning heat. Kareem took out bread and dried figs, sharing them with Amir. Rafi chewed on a few dry leaves that Kareem always carried for him. While they rested, Amir asked, "Do you live alone?" Kareem smiled faintly. "Yes, I have no family left. The desert is my home. Rafi is my only friend." Amir looked at the donkey and smiled. "He is a good friend. He found me." Kareem nodded. "He has saved me many times too. The desert respects those who care for its creatures." When the heat became bearable again, they continued their journey. The dunes began to look different. Small plants appeared here and there, and the ground turned a little firmer. Kareem noticed some bird tracks on the sand and said, We are getting closer to life. That means water is near. Amir's eyes brightened. Maybe the oasis is close. Kareem nodded. Yes, we might reach it before sunset. But the desert was never simple. As the afternoon wind started to blow, the sky turned pale, and the air filled with dust. Kareem stopped and looked around carefully. The dunes were moving faster, their edges breaking apart. The wind grew stronger. Sandstorm, Kareem said quickly. He pulled a cloth over his face and helped Amir do the same. Hold tight to Rafi's neck and keep your eyes closed. Do not let go of the rope no matter what. The storm came with a roar. The wind whipped across the dunes, lifting sand high into the air. The light turned orange and dark. Rafi brayed loudly, frightened, but Kareem held his reins tight and guided him forward. The sand stung their skin, and visibility dropped to almost nothing. Amir was terrified. He buried his face in the donkey's neck and tried not to cry. Kareem shouted above the wind, "Stay calm. We will be fine." He could not see much, but he followed the slope of the land, trusting his instincts. He had faced storms before, but never with a child under his care. Minutes felt like hours. The storm screamed and pushed against them. Then slowly the wind began to weaken. The air cleared a little, and the world came back into view. The dunes had changed shape, but Kareem's steady hands had kept them safe. Amir coughed and wiped his face. "I thought we would be lost again," he said weakly. Kareem patted his shoulder. "The desert likes to test us, but we are still standing, so we win this time." They stopped for a short rest to catch their breath. Kareem looked around and saw something shining in the distance, a reflection of light. He narrowed his eyes and smiled. "There," he said, pointing. "That must be the oasis." Amir turned and gasped. Between the dunes, he could see a patch of green and the glimmer of water. It looked like a dream after all the golden emptiness. They moved faster, hope giving strength to their tired legs. As they came closer, they saw palm trees and heard the sound of birds. Kareem felt relief wash over him. The oasis was real. When they entered it, Amir jumped off Rafi and ran toward the water. He splashed his face and drank with joy. Kareem smiled and filled his flask. Rafi too walked into the shallow water, enjoying the coolness. After they rested, Kareem said, "Your family may be nearby. Travelers always stop here before going farther. We will wait, and maybe someone will recognize you." They built a small fire near the trees. Kareem cooked some lentils in a pot, and soon the smell filled the air. Amir sat quietly, watching the smoke rise. He felt peace for the first time since he got lost. Evening arrived, and the sun turned red as it sank behind the dunes. A group of camels appeared from the distance. Amir stood up quickly, his eyes wide. "Those are my people," he cried. Kareem turned and saw a caravan coming toward the oasis. The people shouted with joy when they saw the boy. A woman ran forward and hugged Amir tightly. She was his mother. Behind her came a tall man, his face covered with dust and worry. "Amir," he said in a trembling voice. "We searched everywhere." Amir pointed at Kareem. "He found me, father. He and his donkey saved me." Kareem stepped forward humbly. The father clasped his hands. "You have done more than we can ever repay. You saved our son." Kareem shook his head. "The desert helped us both. I only followed the signs." They shared food together that night. The family insisted that Kareem and Rafi rest with them. The fire burned bright, and laughter filled the air. Amir sat close to Kareem, telling him about his dreams of exploring the world. Kareem smiled and said, "Adventure is good, but wisdom is better. Remember that, young one." That night, under the stars, Kareem looked at the happy family beside the fire. He felt something warm in his heart, not pride, but peace. He had found the boy, faced the storm, and returned life to a worried family. He thought it was the end of his story, but destiny had other plans waiting for both him and the boy beyond the dunes. The next morning, the air at the oasis was cool and filled with the sound of chirping birds. The palms swayed gently and the water shone like glass under the early sunlight. Amir woke up with a smile on his face. For the first time since he had wandered into the desert, he felt safe and happy. His parents were busy packing their things, preparing to continue their journey. Karim sat a little distance away, feeding Rafi a few dates and some dry grass. He liked mornings like this, peaceful and simple. Life on the road had taught him to be thankful for small things like shade, food, and good company. Amir walked over to him with a bright face. "Good morning, Karim," he said cheerfully. "Good morning, young traveler," Karim replied. "Did you sleep well?" Amir nodded. "Yes, I had a dream. You and Rafi were walking across the desert and the sky was full of stars. It looked beautiful." Karim smiled and patted Rafi's back. "Dreams often show us the paths of the heart," he said kindly. "Perhaps the desert wants you to remember its lessons." Soon Amir's father came to them. His name was Hamid, a tall and strong man with kind eyes. "Karim," he said, "we are forever thankful to you. You saved our son. We cannot let you leave empty-handed." He offered a small bag of coins and some fine cloth from their trade. Karim raised his hands gently and shook his head. "I do not help for reward. I help because it is right." Hamid tried again. "Then at least come with us to the nearest town. You will rest and eat well. We can buy you new clothes and take care of your donkey." Karim thought for a moment and agreed. "Very well. Rafi and I could use some rest before our next trip." The caravan moved together that morning. The camels walked in a long line, their shadows stretching over the golden sand. Amir rode beside Karim, asking questions about the desert. "How do you know where to go when everything looks the same?" he asked. Karim pointed to the sky. "The stars guide me at night and the wind tells me where the dunes will move. The desert speaks if you know how to listen." Rafi trotted calmly beside the camels, happy to be part of the group. Amir sometimes fed him small pieces of dates and the donkey brayed softly in joy. The travelers laughed, saying that Rafi was the cleverest donkey they had ever seen. By afternoon, the group reached a small town at the edge of the desert. It was a lively place filled with market stalls, children running, and traders shouting. The smell of spices filled the air. For Karim, who had spent most of his time in silence, the noise felt strange but pleasant. Hamid invited him to his home, a simple house made of stone with a small courtyard. Amir ran inside happily, showing Karim where to sit. Rafi was tied in the shade, eating grass. Hamid's wife brought them food, warm bread, lentil stew, and tea. Karim thanked them deeply. After they ate, Hamid said, "You must stay here as long as you want. You are part of our family now." Karim smiled warmly. "You are very kind. I will rest for a few days before I travel again." That evening, Amir sat with Karim near the courtyard fire. "I wish you would stay longer," Amir said. "You could teach me how to read the stars and follow the desert paths." Karim chuckled. "Maybe one day you will walk those paths yourself. The desert calls some people again and again." In the days that followed, Karim helped Hamid with his work. He fixed camel saddles, repaired ropes, and told stories to the children in the evenings. Everyone in the town came to know about the poor cowboy and his loyal donkey who had saved a lost boy. Amir followed Karim everywhere, learning small lessons each day. He learned how to track footprints, how to tell the time from shadows, and how to stay calm when the desert turned wild. Karim treated him like a student, teaching him with patience. One afternoon, while walking through the market, Karim noticed a man arguing with traders. The man looked worried and tired. Karim listened and learned that a merchant's wagon had gone missing in the desert 2 nights ago. It carried medicine and food for a nearby village. A sandstorm had swept over it and the travelers never returned. Hamid heard this too and turned to Karim. "Those supplies are important. Many sick people depend on them." Karim looked toward the horizon. If the storm took them, their wagon may be buried under the dunes. But maybe it can still be found. Amir's eyes widened. "Can we help them?" he asked eagerly. Hamid hesitated. "It is dangerous, Amir. You nearly lost your life once." But Karim said calmly, "The desert took something again. It is only fair we try to return what was lost." The next morning, Karim prepared Rafi with water and ropes. Amir begged his parents to let him go with them. "Please, father, I will stay close to Karim and do as he says," he promised. After a long silence, Hamid agreed, trusting Karim's wisdom. They left at sunrise, following the merchant's old route. Karim studied the ground carefully, reading every mark. He could tell how fresh the camel tracks were, which direction they turned, and where the wind had covered them. Amir watched in wonder, trying to see what Karim saw. Hours passed. The heat was sharp, but Karim kept going. Rafi carried some extra water and food. At last, Karim stopped and pointed ahead. Look at that ridge. The sand there is uneven. Something lies beneath. They reached the spot and began to dig with their hands. After some time, they found the corner of a wooden cart. The wagon was half buried under the dune. Inside it were sacks of food, jars of water, and boxes of medicine. But there was no sign of the missing men. Karim searched further and found 2 broken wheels and a torn tent. It looked like the travelers had taken shelter but had been driven away by the storm. Amir looked around nervously. "Do you think they are still alive?" he asked. Karim looked toward the west and said, "If they followed the wind, they may have gone that way. We will search for them." They followed the faint trail of broken ropes and footprints that led across the dunes. The wind had almost hidden them, but Karim's sharp eyes did not miss the signs. After walking for an hour, they saw movement near a small cluster of rocks. 2 men were lying there, weak and covered in dust. Karim hurried toward them. They were alive but exhausted. "We found you," he said, giving them water. The men drank gratefully, their voices shaking as they thanked him. They helped the travelers back to the wagon and gave them food. When the men saw the supplies safe, they cried with relief. "You saved not just us but the whole village," one of them said. Karim smiled and said, "We only followed the signs. The desert never hides everything." That evening, as they returned to town, Amir felt proud. He had faced the desert again, but this time as a helper, not a lost child. When they reached Hamid's home, the town gathered to hear the story. Everyone praised Karim's bravery and Amir's courage. Hamid looked at Karim and said, "You have saved lives twice in a short time. You are a blessing to this land." Karim bowed his head humbly. "I only do what I can." Later that night, Amir sat beside Rafi, feeding him an apple. "We make a good team," he said with a smile. Karim laughed softly. "Yes, we do. And maybe one day when I am too old to walk the desert, you will take my place." Amir looked at the stars above, thinking about those words. The desert no longer scared him. It felt like a teacher, full of secrets waiting to be learned. Neither Karim nor Amir knew that their next journey would be greater than any before. One that would test their courage, their friendship, and their hearts in ways they could not imagine. The desert town slowly returned to its quiet life after the excitement of Karim and Amir's brave rescue. Days passed peacefully. The sun rose bright every morning, the market filled with voices and colors, and the nights glowed under silver stars. Yet something in Karim's heart began to stir again. He had spent many weeks in the town, helping people, teaching Amir, and enjoying the company of Hamid's family. Still, the road was calling him. Karim had always been a traveler. His life had been built on journeys. He was used to waking up under the open sky, following the dunes, and listening to the wind's stories. Now that Amir and his family were safe, Karim felt it was time to move on. But leaving was not easy. The bond between him, the boy, and Rafi had grown strong. One afternoon, while Karim was cleaning Rafi's saddle, Amir came running. His face was full of energy. "Karim, Father says a big caravan from the city will arrive tomorrow. They are looking for skilled guides who know the desert well. You must meet them. Maybe they will hire you and pay you well." Karim smiled. "I do not need riches, Amir. The desert already gives me what I need. But maybe I can help them if they travel a hard route." Amir's eyes sparkled. "Can I come too, please?" "I will be careful." Karim looked thoughtful. "We will see what your parents say." The next day, a large caravan entered the town. There were many camels, guards, and traders carrying goods like spices, fabric, and silver. The leader was a man named Bilal, tall and proud, dressed in fine robes. He was searching for someone who could guide his caravan through a shorter path across the desert, a path few dared to take. It was said that beyond the dunes lay a hidden valley filled with green land and ancient wells that could save many days of travel. Hamid introduced Karim to Bilal. "This is the man who saved my son from the desert," he said. "If anyone can guide you safely, it is him." Bilal looked at Karim with interest. "I have heard of your name, old traveler. If you can lead us through the hidden valley, you will be well rewarded." Karim shook his head softly. "I do not walk for gold, but I will help if it is needed. The desert is no place for the careless." Bilal agreed, respecting his calm nature. When Amir heard that Karim would guide the caravan, his heart leaped. Father, please let me go with him. I can help and learn more about the desert. Hamid hesitated, but Karim said gently, The boy has courage and a good heart. I will keep him safe. Hamid finally nodded. Then go, my son. Learn from Karim and return with the wind's wisdom. The next morning, the caravan prepared for the long journey. Camels were loaded with supplies and the people stood ready. Amir hugged his mother before leaving. I will come back soon, he promised. Karim mounted Rafi and the boy rode beside him on a camel. The caravan slowly moved out of the town, leaving behind the sound of markets and music. For many days they traveled across vast golden dunes. The sun blazed, but Karim always found small tricks to keep everyone safe. He knew when to stop, when to move, and where to find small water spots hidden under dry ground. Amir watched carefully and tried to remember every word Karim said. One night when the moon was bright, Amir asked, Karim, how did you learn all this? Did someone teach you? Karim smiled at the stars. The desert was my teacher. It showed me everything, how to listen, how to wait, and how to stay calm. The desert speaks, but only to those who respect it. Days turned into weeks. The caravan reached a part of the desert where the sand looked strange, darker with small stones scattered around. Karim stopped and studied the ground. We are near the old valley, he said, but there is danger here. The winds are strong and can hide whole paths overnight. Bilal grew impatient. We cannot delay. Every hour we waste costs money. Karim looked at him steadily. If you rush, the desert will punish you. Patience is the only price that keeps you alive. Bilal frowned but said nothing. As evening came, clouds gathered over the horizon. Thunder rolled softly. A rare desert storm was coming. Karim quickly ordered everyone to set up camp near a ridge where the dunes were high enough to block some wind. Amir helped tie ropes and cover the camels. Rafi stood close, his ears twitching at the noise. The storm arrived like a wild beast. The wind howled, sand rose in waves, and the air became thick and heavy. People shouted, holding the tents down. Amir stayed beside Karim, trying to be brave. Do not be afraid, Karim said. Keep your head low and stay behind the ridge. The storm lasted all night. When morning came, everything was silent again. The dunes had changed completely. The landmarks Karim remembered were gone. Even the valley's direction looked different. Bilal was worried. Are we lost? Karim studied the sun carefully and said, No, not lost. The desert only changed its face. We will find the way. But food and water were running low. The traders whispered among themselves. Amir watched Karim closely, trusting him fully. Rafi too stayed calm, sensing his master's steady heart. After hours of walking, Karim suddenly stopped. He noticed strange marks on the sand, circular shapes and lines too straight to be natural. He knelt down and brushed the surface. Beneath a thin layer of dust, old stone bricks appeared. This is it, Karim said quietly. The entrance to the hidden valley. Everyone gathered around as Karim and Amir cleared more sand. Soon a narrow path opened between two ridges. It led down into a green valley where palm trees and old wells stood waiting, untouched by time. The air was cooler, and water shimmered at the center. The traders shouted with joy. Bilal could not believe his eyes. You did it, Karim. You found what no one could find in years. Karim smiled faintly. The desert rewards those who listen. The caravan set camp in the valley. There was fresh water, fruit, and shade for everyone. Amir ran to the wells, laughing. It feels like a dream, he said. Karim nodded. It is a gift. But remember, the desert gives and takes. Never forget respect. That night, as people celebrated, Karim sat quietly under the stars. Amir joined him. Why do you look sad? The boy asked. Karim looked at the horizon. I am not sad. I am thinking, the desert has shown us many paths. Each one teaches something new. You are young, Amir. You will walk many more roads than I ever did. Amir looked at him with admiration. You will always be my teacher. Karim smiled. And you will always be my student and friend. But as the night grew deep, Karim felt a strange pain in his chest. It was small at first, then stronger. He leaned against Rafi, breathing slowly. The old donkey nuzzled him softly, sensing his weakness. Karim closed his eyes for a moment and whispered, It seems my road may soon end. He did not speak of it to anyone, but Rafi stayed close all night. When morning came, Karim stood again, though slower than before. He guided the caravan safely out of the valley, leading them toward the next town. Everyone followed him with trust and respect. As the sun rose higher, Amir looked at Karim walking ahead and felt a deep feeling in his heart, part pride, part worry. He did not know what waited ahead, but he knew one truth. The desert had joined their lives forever, and no storm, no distance could ever change that. The journey back from the hidden valley was slow but steady. Karim moved carefully, leading Rafi and the caravan across dunes that shifted with each step of the wind. Amir rode close, observing everything his teacher did. The boy's heart was full of respect and admiration. Every move Karim made seemed certain, even when the desert tried to confuse them. The travelers were grateful for the guidance. Bilal and his men learned quickly how to follow Karim's instructions. They studied the wind, watched the sun's position, and noticed subtle changes in the sand. Even the camels seemed calmer, as if they too trusted the old cowboy. Amir whispered to Rafi, "We are safe because Karim knows the desert like no one else." Rafi gave a soft bray, almost like an answer. On the third day of travel, the sun rose golden over distant dunes. Karim stopped near a small oasis to rest. He poured water into bowls for everyone and offered food to the weary travelers. Amir helped carry the bowls, happy to assist. While everyone ate, Karim walked a little distance to a stone ledge and sat looking over the endless desert. The wind brushed his face softly and he closed his eyes, listening. Amir approached slowly. "Karim, are you okay?" he asked softly. Karim opened his eyes and smiled faintly. "Yes, young one. I am fine, I am only thinking. The desert teaches patience and strength, but sometimes it also teaches that life is short." Amir looked puzzled. "Short, but we still have a long journey to finish." Karim nodded. "Yes, but every journey has its end. Even for me." Amir did not understand fully, but he sensed something important. He stayed close, feeling the strength in Karim's presence. The old cowboy stood after a few minutes and led the caravan onward. His steps were slower yet steady. Every movement showed wisdom gained from years under the sun, among sand and wind. As the afternoon grew hot, the desert seemed to stretch endlessly. Shadows danced on the dunes and the sand shimmered like a golden sea. Amir noticed Karim pausing often, feeling the wind, looking at the sky and adjusting the route. The boy realized that guiding through the desert was not just about walking. It was about understanding, listening, and predicting. Around evening, they reached a small ridge overlooking a familiar oasis. The group cheered with relief. The oasis was a welcoming sight: green palms, cool water, and soft sand. Bilal thanked Karim with a deep bow. "You saved our caravan and guided us through the hidden valley. Words cannot express our gratitude." Karim shook his head humbly. "I did what was needed. The desert allowed it." Amir jumped off his camel and ran toward the water. He splashed his face and drank deeply, feeling life return to his body. Karim and Rafi watched quietly, content with their work. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky orange and pink. The travelers set up camp and everyone rested under the palms. That night the fire crackled and the stars shone brighter than ever. Amir sat close to Karim, holding Rafi's reins while the donkey rested. "Karim, will we go on more journeys like this?" he asked. Karim looked at the boy, a soft smile on his face. "Perhaps, Amir. The desert always has paths to show, but it also decides who walks them." As they spoke, Karim felt a sudden pain in his chest. He leaned back against Rafi and breathed deeply. Amir noticed immediately. "Karim, are you hurt?" Karim nodded slowly. "Yes, but do not worry. I have walked many roads, and this is just another step. Rest now, young one, and trust Rafi to stay by my side." The night passed slowly. Karim stayed awake for a while, watching the stars and listening to the desert. He reflected on his life, the long roads, the storms, the people he had helped, and now Amir. He felt satisfaction, knowing that he had shared his knowledge and courage with someone who would continue to respect the desert and its lessons. By morning, the caravan prepared to move again. Karim mounted Rafi, though slower than usual, and Amir rode beside him. The travelers followed carefully. As they crossed a wide plain, Karim noticed faint dunes in the distance. His strength was fading, but his mind remained sharp. He guided each step, ensuring the safety of all. Suddenly, a strong wind rose from the east. The desert seemed to change again, challenging the travelers. Some camels became restless and sand whipped across the path. Karim held Rafi's reins firmly and Amir held his teacher's hand for support. "We will face this together," Karim said calmly. "Do not fear the desert. Respect it, and it will allow you to pass." The wind tested them, but Karim's experience prevailed. He led the caravan through the safest path, avoiding steep dunes and unstable sand. Rafi moved carefully, step by step, carrying Karim and supplies steadily. Amir learned to feel the desert as his teacher did, noticing the shifts, listening to the silence, and observing small changes in the wind. By afternoon, the storm weakened. The desert returned to its calm state. The travelers, exhausted but safe, reached the edge of another oasis. Water and shade were welcome after the long journey. Bilal and his men praised Karim again. "Your wisdom and courage are unmatched. You guided us through challenges that would have stopped others." Karim smiled faintly. "The desert teaches everything. One only needs to listen." Amir ran to the water, laughing and splashing. He turned to Karim and said, "I want to learn everything you know. I want to be brave like you." Karim looked at the boy with pride. "You are already brave. Courage is in your heart, Amir. Knowledge and patience will follow with time." That night, under the stars, Karim and Amir sat by the fire. Rafi rested close, his head on Karim's lap. Karim looked at the sky and whispered softly, "I have walked long roads, young one, and now it is time for my last journey. But I am not afraid. I leave knowing the desert has chosen well." Amir did not fully understand, but he felt a quiet sadness. He held Rafi's reins and stayed close, not wanting to leave Karim's side. The next morning, Karim rose slowly. His steps were careful, each one deliberate. The caravan moved toward the town, the travelers following his guidance. Amir rode beside him, watching every move. Karim spoke calmly, teaching the boy even in his last moments. "Always respect the desert, Amir. Listen to its whispers, follow its signs, and help those in need. That is the way of the traveler." As the town appeared on the horizon, Karim felt his strength fading. He stopped for a moment, looking at Amir and Rafi. "Remember, young one, you are ready to walk some paths on your own now. Trust yourself and trust the desert." Amir's eyes were full of tears. "I will never forget you, Karim. Thank you for everything." Karim smiled faintly. He patted Rafi gently. The donkey gave a soft bray, nuzzling his master. Karim whispered, "Rafi, you are a good friend. Take care of Amir." With that, Karim leaned back, breathing slowly. The desert wind blew softly, carrying the warmth of the sun and the calm of endless dunes. When the travelers entered the town, Amir ran to his parents. Hamid and his wife embraced him tightly. "Where is Karim?" Amir pointed toward Rafi, who followed him calmly. "He is with Rafi, resting. He will always guide me in spirit." Hamid understood, tears in his eyes. "He is a true hero," he said softly. Amir stayed close to Rafi every day, remembering Karim's lessons. He learned to read the desert, listen to the wind, and respect all life. Rafi became his faithful companion, just as he had been to Karim. Together they walked through the dunes, feeling the strength of their teacher in every step. In the years that followed, Amir became a guide, helping travelers across the desert. He remembered Karim's words and acted with wisdom and courage. The stories of the poor cowboy and his loyal donkey spread far, inspiring many. But Amir knew the truth. It was not the reward or fame that mattered. It was the courage, kindness, and respect for life that Karim had taught him, lessons that would live forever. The desert remained vast and endless, but Amir, with Rafi by his side, never feared it again. He carried Karim's spirit in his heart, knowing that the footprints left beneath the dunes were more than marks on sand. They were lessons, friendship, and love, a path for every lost traveler to follow.